Hello, and thank you for tuning in. My name is Brian Adams, and I'll be giving you the Tropical Atlantic Marine Weather Briefing starting today, Sunday, March 16th, and running through Friday, March 21st. With that in mind, let's go ahead and get started. So we'll start off here by looking at this morning's conditions. The first thing I'm going to circle here in green, if you just bear with me for a second. The first thing I'm going to highlight here is this cold front moving across the Gulf of America. I'm going to be circling it in green. And then we're also going to be paying very close attention out in the central Atlantic to this area of developing gale force winds. Kind of these two general areas, these two general features are what we're going to be paying a lot of attention to for the next several slides. All right, so we're going to move ahead to Monday morning here. Again, take note of the cold front position I'm going to mark right here, as well as now we have a developing area of low pressure in the central Atlantic. Again, just circle it here, make it real obvious for everybody. On the northern side of this low, we do have in the pink shade here that I'm going to circle, we do have an area of gale force winds along with some strong to near gale force winds kind of surrounding the northern semicircle of this low. So certainly looking at some hazardous conditions there. And also on the northern semicircle of this low, we have over here on the right a large area of rough to very rough seas. So certainly want to take a caution of that if you're going to be heading out across the Atlantic on Monday. So then moving ahead to Tuesday, we see now that the cold front here, again, I'm just going to circle through here, is also going to be moving a little bit closer, kind of starting to interact a little bit more with the low over here. We see the winds on the northern side of the low have diminished a little bit, but certainly still in the strong to near gale force range. And then certainly over on the right, we see still a pretty large area of rough to very rough seas on the northern side of that low. So as we go through and we see these fixtures kind of get a little bit closer together, we'll see how they interact, and we'll see that really well here on the next slide. So this is going to be valid for Wednesday morning. You see the low and front have more or less almost kind of merged together in a lot of ways, drawing more attention here to not just the low and the cold front. So I'll circle those here quick, look at this, but then also look closer to Florida and the southeast US. We have a little area of high pressure developing here. And then in between these two, you see these tighter packing of isobars, these lines of equal pressure. That's the interactions between these two features is going to support another round of stronger winds, possibly up to gale force, as you can kind of see in the label there in the center. And then looking over to the right, again, another large area of rough to very rough seas occurring on now sort of the western semicircle of this low here as well. Before we move on to the next slide, draw your attention all the way to the west here. So we're looking all the way across the northwestern Gulf of America, drawing attention to this next cold front that's going to be emerging off the coast here, looks like by Wednesday morning. So we'll keep a close eye on that for the next couple of slides. So for Thursday morning, unfortunately, because for days 4 and 5, we do lose our surface features due to some technical things. But luckily for us, this cold front is still going to be pretty well defined. You see by the swath of wind that's going to be occurring off of the Gulf of American coast there. And then we also see some enhanced seas kind of following the front as well. We do still have a couple of little areas of some stronger winds out in the central Atlantic that'll circle here, and then also some stronger seas, just kind of remnant swell from that low pressure system that we were just talking about on Wednesday. So again, that next feature is going to be that cold front pushing through the Gulf of America as we see here on this map. I'll go ahead and advance to the next slide. And then so by Friday, you see now again, I'm going to mark kind of where the frontal boundary would otherwise be if it were, depicted on this map. You can kind of see it would be somewhere right in here. So it's going to be ushering in probably yet another round of some stronger winds. And over here on the right, certainly another round of some rough to potentially very rough seas as that front continues to push east and southeastward into the ocean. So we just covered a lot of ground. I'll go ahead and wrap things up with the key messages. Again, we have a cold front exiting the Gulf of America tonight into Monday morning. We do have a developing low pressure system in the Atlantic that will produce gale force winds, mainly on the northern semicircle, like we were talking about. That'll be starting up tonight and running through Monday night, with those rough to very rough seas then persisting through midweek. The aforementioned front and the low may lead to another round of gales. Kind of again, we were talking about the interaction between the high and low pressure that'll be occurring between Bermuda and the Bahamas by midweek. And again, we have yet another front that'll be pushing off the coast later this week. So we're looking at yet another round of hazardous marine conditions with that as well. Thank you all for tuning in. You can always look up more information, for more graphics, more information at hurricanes.gov/marine. We'll be issuing our next briefing by Thursday, March 20th at 5 p.m. Thank you all for tuning in. Have a lovely and safe week.